Welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a best-of-3 series where we find ourselves in game number 1 on the map Site Delta. Now this is a series between two channel favorites, spawning right here in the bottom right-hand corner, playing with the red Zerg drones. From Canada, we have none other than Scarlett, and her opponent in the opposite corner with the blue Protoss pieces. He's from Italy, and he goes by the name of Reynor. Reynor, for some reason, he's once again been enjoying playing the Protoss when he otherwise would have to play a Zerg versus Zerg instead. So that seems to be the strategy right now. If he's going up against somebody who he feels like he could lose against in Zerg versus Zerg, he decides to pick Protoss instead. It's an interesting decision. He doesn't do it on every map. As far as I'm aware, Site Delta is not necessarily the easiest map for Protoss overall. I definitely can go ahead and have a quick look. Site Delta Wikipedia. As always, I have all my data prepared as I cast the very first game of the series. Yeah, so this map has I guess it's not bad for Protoss. It has, in tournament games, on a sample size of 109 maps, a 48.6% win rate for Zerg. So I guess Protoss is winning the, well, slight majority of the games played on this map. It's not like this is a horrible map though for Zerg whatsoever, but it's not gonna be quite as straightforward as, say, for example, a Raduset station. Which is much easier, I guess, for the Zerg to be aggressive, right? On a map like, for example, Raduset. So I bring up Raduset because I recently casted a game of Reynor playing Protoss going up against Serral's Zerg. On Raduset, there's not really that many attack angles that you can use, but on a map like this, well, both the third as well as the fourth base are in the direction of the opponent, and they have a whole lot of entrances going into those third and fourth base locations too. So it's not gonna be quite as easy, I guess, for the Protoss player to play a turtle game, but maybe a Reynor can make it work. Obviously, Scarlett is not somebody who will be playing this game as cautiously as, say, for example, Serral. Serral in general likes to play the big macro games. He's not really afraid to just go toe-to-toe with you. And yeah, I think Scarlett in general, I mean, she's very good at playing late game as well, but she generally does play, yeah, a little bit more feisty compared to at least the way that Serral likes to approach it. So far though, nothing out of the ordinary whatsoever. Although that Cybercore looks ever so slightly cursed to me. I think he can probably still complete the wall off over here, but I don't know. We'll see in just a moment. I think it should be okay. Does look one square too far forward. Anyways, the probe, it stole 5 minerals and now it's gonna start heading back home. You don't want to lose that probe. Honestly, he probably stuck around for like 3 seconds too long, so maybe we can criticize Reynor, but as long as the probe survives, I don't think it's really gonna be that big of a deal. By the way, in case my voice sounds a little funny today, or funnier than per usual, it seems like I've got a little bit of a cold. Not exactly sure. I hope it's not gonna get any worse. I mean, it was kind of there a little bit yesterday, and today it seems to be, I don't know, a little bit worse, but hopefully it won't be too big of a problem. Alrighty, Adept shades into the main base. Oracles start right here for Reynor. So this is stock standard Protoss and Zerg gameplay. Nothing all too weird. The main question is, how many Oracles will we see coming out of the Italian Protoss as two Adepts are shading forward? One thing, of course, that Reynor is very good at in any game of StarCraft 2 is speed. Well, I mean, I brought up the APM tab right there and assumed that Reynor would be playing a very fast game, and he surely is, but apparently Scarlett is sitting at an average APM of 740. Now, APM is kind of a meaningless thing these days in StarCraft 2, so the thing is that a lot of StarCraft 2 pro gamers, they have very high repeat rates on their keyboards, they will have very short repeat delays, so basically just by playing the game at like 300 APM, the game actually detects it at like, you know, 6 or so hundred instead. But there's no denying that both of these players are playing it very quickly. So for example, right here, when Scarlett is making drones, she will select all of her hatcheries, she will select the larva, and then she will hold down the drone button, right? So with the standard hotkey setup, I think it's 4SD, assuming she hotkeys all of the hatcheries to hotkey 4. Anyways, long story short, every single time a drone is made, that counts as an action. But in reality, she's holding down a button. Anyhow, Oracles do find a bit of an angle over here, but nice pool with the drones. Okay, he's gonna go after the queens. That's one of those decisions that most of the time, I was gonna say, Protoss players wouldn't make, and I don't love this at all. A queen for an Oracle is a trait that Scarlett will be happy to take any day of the week, especially if it means that the drones are gonna be able to stay alive. Now these Adepts though, alright, they're gonna shade in, completely unscouted, no reaction just yet here from Scarlett. Finally, she does send in the queens, but that is a little bit later. Yep, and this is gonna hurt. Rather than actually responding here by making Zerglings, Scarlett is basically saying, yo, I'm eating those losses, and I'm instead just going to re-drone. The Zerglings, in the meantime, were on the other side of the map. Oh my god, okay, well, I think they may have gotten picked off, or at the very least, now they made their way back home. A few of them may have gotten killed. Another queen, though, got killed here as well by those oracles, and now I don't really love this start here anymore for Scarlett. It's not bad. Protoss ideally is looking at like 10 plus workers, but this is certainly a very playable spot. Losing the oracle here is actually, yeah, kind of rough. That oracle provides so much value later on into the game as well, right? Say, for example, Zerg is thinking about going for a queen march. Well, those oracles are incredibly handy. Anyways, the follow-up right here for Reynor is going to be Blink together with what I think will be the +1 ground weapons here momentarily. One thing that Reynor really likes to do when he plays Protoss, more so than, well, Protoss players, is focus heavily on upgrades. So he generally goes for multiple forges and starts upgrading his Skytools units before he ever makes any Skytools units. Technically speaking, these guys, they do count as Skytools units, but the thing is, this is actually something that I think not necessarily every StarCraft fan is aware of. Oracles need to activate that pulsar beam ability, right? Which is that thing right over here in the bottom right-hand corner. And it's considered a spell. And spell in StarCraft 2, they do not benefit from attack upgrades. So they deal a flat damage regardless of the armor of the unit they're attacking as well. So if you get +1 or +2 or +3 on your oracles, I mean, unless it's the armor upgrade, they're not gonna really benefit from it whatsoever. Anyways, the Stalkers over here do find a nice angle. This is before Blink is done, so certainly a bit of a risky choice here from Reynor, but this is one of those situations, yeah, where he understands Zerg very well, and he must have realized, wait a second, if I wait until the Blink upgrade is done, there's gonna be a tremendous amount of Zerglings out. So if I push right now, even though it's technically something the Zerg players can counter, the odds of Scarlett droning at this point are very high. So took a little bit of a chance, but I think that makes up for, yeah, losing that Oracle. Getting the hatchery kill, not bad whatsoever. Instead, we've got a double expand right now over on the right side of the screen. So, well, bottom left-hand corner of the screen, the right side of that section. Anyways, we do have a whole lot of Overlords hanging out here too. Careful. Against Blink Stalkers, we see those getting picked off all the time. Quick, what's it called? Sonic Storm upgrade here on the back of this 2 here for Reynor. And a whole lot of gateways. In the meantime, Hive is already coming up here for Scarlett. So she's happy to play the macro game, it looks like. Yeah, I was talking about how she generally does not mind playing a little bit more aggressively, at least compared to Serral. But not in this game. In this game, we're playing the big macro game. And you know what? I can't really blame her. So this series, I believe, was played before the game against Serral. So I can imagine that at this point, yeah, Scarlett is going into this. She's like, yeah, okay. Not exactly sure what to expect from Reynor's Protoss, but I'm a Zerg player. I play this matchup all day, every day, because half the ladder is Protoss. I think I should be well familiar with how this matchup goes, and I think I should be the stronger player overall. So, yeah, to watch her playing the macro game here is really not too crazy. That being said, we did see in that game against Serral that I uploaded, well, I guess earlier this week, maybe last week. I don't really know exactly when I'll be publishing this, but we did see that Reynor is very scary in the late game. Alright. Yep, and you can see the Reynor is aiming for that too. 4th Nexus, fully saturated. We don't have a second fort just yet, but I do expect it to go down pretty yeah, there it is, pretty soon. We also do have 4 photon cannons right now building, and I would imagine this is also, yeah, to protect against potential Mutalisks. So you don't really need it over here because there's going to be Protoss units chilling. But yeah, we even already have a Phoenix over here waiting in the main base. So Reynor really just playing a solid macro game, not really taking any chances. Other than, well, being critical of that Oracle loss, right, when he decided to jump the Queens, I am really liking this game right now for Protoss. And obviously at this point in the game, that's practically irrelevant anyways. The Oracle is still nice to have around, but let's not pretend like it's the most expensive unit in the game. Alrighty, so Zealot run-bys are being set up in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Scarlett does have lurkers available right now. I would not mind seeing her leave a couple of them behind. Yeah, a little bit of creep spread in this direction, also not a bad choice whatsoever. Okay, there's the ranged upgrade for the Hydralisk. We're going +2/+2 for melee as well as missile, so no armor upgrades. That means that Scarlett is going for a full-on damage army here, rather than one that can sustain itself for a very long time. Zealots here now ultimately will force some of those units back. This is 400 minerals down the drain, I suppose, but again, that is not really a resource that Protoss has to be all too concerned about. Usually Protoss armies are limited by the amount of gas, and you can see that reflected right here already. We're up to a ton of minerals. Okay, the Lurker attack. Is this something that Reynor can deal with? Links are running in already. We do need another warp in, I think, in the natural expansion or maybe even the main base. Yeah, this is a difficult location to break. That being said, it's 10 Lurkers, 5 Archons, 1 Immortal. I'm not in love with this Protoss army against this particular one, but I do think, yeah, that it is possible for the Protoss to jump on top of it, especially with some nice storms. Reynor blanketing on top of all of those Zerg units, and, well, that is that army down the drain. At the same time, there's a Zergling run by over here on the right side, but a Zealot Warpin does take care of it. So ultimately, 2 workers in total killed by Scarlett throughout this game. We'll probably have to re-wall ourselves in. Okay, well, we're going straight into the +1 air weapons. This I really do like, though, from Reynor. So, the upgrading that he does is very different than what Protoss players normally do. He's focusing on shield upgrades. So he just got the +1 shields upgrade. That obviously benefits Archons primarily, but every single Protoss unit has shields. So still can, yeah, allow some of those Protoss units to stay alive for a little bit longer, but there is no indication that there is a Skytools transition here coming anytime soon. We don't have a fusion core or a fleet beacon or whatever, right? We don't have any of that going on. There's not going to be battle cruises in this game, regardless of what happens. But he is already going into the +1 air weapons. We are already upgrading, well, 2 forges at the same time. It's an interesting decision. Generally, at least, we don't see Protoss players starting up these upgrades until they're actually making Skytools units. And like I said, I mean, the only flying units, I guess the Phoenix benefits from it, but the only flying units that really are available in this game are the Oracles, and I guess the Observers, but they also don't really attack very much. Big Zergling counterattack over here in the top right-hand corner. Top right-hand corner, at least, of Reynor's bases. Looks like this is going to be A-okay. Yeah. Archon here helping out a ton. Nice battery overcharge. Okay. So now we're in the late game. Scarlett is going from Lurkers into Brood Lords. So notice that she's not focusing on Banelings in this particular game. Generally speaking, Banelings are one of the main tools that Zerg players use, but a lot of Zerg players have also not really enjoyed the recent nerfs to the Baneling, so they're playing this a little bit more cautiously. Okay. We're just gonna push into this? Sure, can we get at least a storm or two? Nah, not necessary, we're just marching in. Zealot run by over here towards that third base here of Reynor, or of Scarlett rather. God, it's confusing, man, I'm so used to casting Reynor as Zerg. Zealot run by though, by Reynor against Scarlett's base. Not really achieving all too much. I actually really love this from Scarlett. Now that Protoss knows where those spine crawlers are, the odds of Zealots being sent on over in this direction are pretty low, so moving them on over to that next exposed location where Zealots will likely go. Pretty clever. Now this base is wide open, but it's not really something that Reynor will likely find out here anytime soon, unless he marches his main army in that direction. And there's what I called the Fusion Core coming up right here for the Protoss. A big storm here in the meantime, though, on the Zerg army. Yeah, Lurkers are mostly out of range here. I'm not in love with this. Zerglings got destroyed very rapidly. Okay. Reynor mostly just running around. Yep, and there's that Zealot run by, but looks like the Archon is joining in as well, and 4, well, spines are not going to be enough. 1 storm right there just to retreat. Zealot run by. Heading towards the left side bases here of Scarlett. There is another expansion building here in the bottom left-hand corner, but not really achieving all too much. I really do like the way that Reynor plays Protoss, though. It's a very Zergy way. And it's honestly a little bit strange sometimes to see. So the heavy focus on upgrades, the heavy focus on making tons of workers. So we're talking 91 drones, or probes, I guess. And we're also talking about moving the army around in multiple control groups. So generally, this would be an army. Oh, okay, these two are, okay, joining together, at least for a moment. But normally we'd only really see a Zealot group moving around. But this is a Zealot joined by a couple of High Templar and, well, we also have an Archon in the mix, an Observer, just to clear out some creep. This is, of course, a bit pricey. But obviously this is also a situation that Reynor has been as Zerg many times. And he realizes, yo, if there's lurkers out at this point, I am not really too concerned marching around the map. And the creep threat right here from the Queen of Blades has been absolutely shut down. Scarlett up with her back against the wall. There's a bunch of drones, I think, going down as well. If that Archon decides to shoot. It looks like Reynor wants more, though. And now we finally have carriers on the production tab. Okay. The problem is, the ground army of Protoss is just about to get countered. Scarlett is gonna go full Lurker, full Brute Lord. That is an amazing unit composition against Archon, Immortal, Zealot, Storm, Stalker, like all of these ground-based Protoss units. Very soon, however, Scarlett is gonna have to face off against flying Protoss units instead. And like I mentioned, they're gonna be properly upgraded as well. That is the +2 air weapons, which is a massive boost to the damage output, especially of carriers. Because those interceptors all benefit from it. Reynor just trying to buy time, moving around the map. Forcing those Brute Lords and Lurkers right now to go towards the top right-hand corner. All he really wants is another round of carriers. And just slowing down the advancement here of this Zerg army is massive. So there's no anti-air other than this one Corruptor. In the meantime, expanding towards the bottom left-hand corner as well. +2 air weapons, though, is really nice. I wouldn't mind seeing a couple spellcasters coming into the mix here for Scarlett. So either Infestors or Vipers or even both. Although that may complicate the unit composition just a little bit. Okay, Lurkers have finally found their way over here. I think this is the moment where you reveal the Lurkers. Or, sorry, not the Lurkers. You reveal the carriers here. Probius ended up dying. This will be the first time that Scarlett will see the carriers. And that's a rough moment. Yeah. So Corruptors start up, but this is also that awkward moment where you still have like 30 Lurkers out. Lurkers and Brute Lords really have a lot of overlap. The problem is that both of them are really expensive. So Scarlett is specialized right now into killing ground units of the Protoss. But she's not really able to catch those ground units very easily, so she can't really trade. I don't think Reynor should actually take a trade right now with armies, because if he decides to trade Lurkers for this, all he's really creating is more Corruptors on the opponent's side of the map, right? So 11 Corruptors are coming up. Yep. I love the way that he's running away. I think that's really quite clever. A couple of the Corruptors here also are getting picked off. And this is, again, a super well-played game here by Reynor. From what I understand, the other Zerg players, and Reynor himself, mentioned as well that he hasn't really been practicing Protoss. So, apparently he's mostly just winging this. Now, I'm always a bit hesitant, right? Whenever pro gamers tell me that they haven't practiced, because I've heard that, you know, one too many times. They're always like, oh no, I don't actually play the game right now. And then, you know, they show up at a tournament and they look better than ever before. 17 Corruptors right now are coming up, though. That is basically Scarlett's entire bank now gone. She still has a lot of gas in the bank, so maybe we can make a bunch of Infestors. Again, I don't think that would be a bad choice. But at this point, we're talking so many expansions right here for Reynor. He's even taking a base all the way in the bottom left-hand corner. Mama ship is coming up? Okay. So Reynor believes that he can actually fight this Zerg army with his air units. Now, Corruptors definitely do destroy carriers, though. There's 21 of them versus 7 carriers. That is not quite enough right here for Reynor. Maybe with Storms and Archons in the mix, life becomes a lot easier. Should have a Revelation. And there we go. A Lurker over here also just buying a bit of time. Alright, so Reynor decides to slow down the game. Rather than continue the aggression and potentially get overwhelmed by Corruptors, we're once again doing a little bit of harassment. So this army over here, this ground-based force, has been marching around the map, top right-hand corner towards the bottom left. We're just going anywhere we like. I don't think you really want to trade the Lurkers. Nah. Let them sit around. They made too many of them. Works perfectly well. In favor of the Protoss, that is. You want to have maybe like 5, maybe 10 or so lurkers available, so you can like bury them over here and burrow them over here, so you can at the very least like get some harassment in, right? Okay, there's some nice harpooning though. Vipers suddenly show up. That's the first time I think that Vipers are shown. But yeah, I want to have a couple to deal with Zealot run-bys, but that's really about it. Okay. This Zerg army is much better though than the Protoss. Yeah, you don't want to be too far forward. Brute Lords obviously are too... They're quite a bit faster, right? Compared to where they used to be, but they're also very vulnerable still. Keep in mind that Protoss can always just recall their units. I think he actually just did that towards, for example, the bottom left-hand corner. Mama Ship also has that offensive recall ability available. The Protoss can just go all around the map. Now, a couple Templar here caught in a weird angle. Interceptors in the meantime, though, okay, are going after the Brute Lords. That's 2 Brute Lords here in the end. Zealots are going to town everywhere, though. So lurkers are burrowed in nice locations, but apparently the old bases here, the ones that were originally taken by Scarlett at the very start of the game, they are no longer as protected, and now even the spawning pool is in trouble. Ground army still going to town. From start to finish, though, Reynor has been controlling this game. And there still certainly is a chance that Scarlett can come back into this. But I believe she's gonna have to do it with the army that she's got right now. 46 drones and this many bases. I don't think that's really going to allow her to play a macro game for any more than, well, the next 3 minutes or so. Reynor is heavily outmining the Protoss, and or the Zerg rather. He knows it at this point as well. Love the addition right now of Tempest here, together with like 13 photon cannons. They're just being set up everywhere to try and slow down this Zerg army to the best of his abilities. I think it makes a lot of sense. The more time right now that goes by, the better this is going to be for Reynor. Look at the amount of money here that he's currently got available. It's honestly absurd. Alright. A Void Ray coming up. I think that's mostly just to round out the unit composition. There's really no way that Scarlett is going to win this. Her best chances, I guess, if she's not going to go for an attack, is to hope that the Zerg doesn't... Or, sorry, that the Protoss... Man, it's so confusing casting Reynor as Protoss. It's at those moments that I realize I autopilot some of my casting. Especially when I have a little bit of a cold, I'm feeling a little bit, you know? It's pretty clear that sometimes I do autocast. Or autopilot my casting just a little bit. I need to be replaced by an AI, guys. An AI would not be making those mistakes. As long as I'm making mistakes like that, you can be assumed... nah, I guess you could make an AI make mistakes too, but... At the very least, as long as I'm making sloppy errors, I have not been replaced by a computer. Although maybe I've been replaced by a computer years ago. Has anyone ever seen ChatGPT and Loco in a room at the same time? Those are the kinds of questions you gotta ask yourself. Okay, so Scarlett is trying to mine enough minerals here to afford a bunch of infestors. I think we should have seen those a while ago. Yeah, so she decides to go for Neural Parasite right now. And I guess the plan is to try and turn that Protoss army against the Protoss. Mama Ship just chilling over here, trying to provide whatever she can. 10 additional gateways. We're going 22 gateways and 8 stargates. So Reynor is thinking right now, yo, the only way I can lose this game is if I really butcher a fight. And if Zerg then can counterattack and destroy my stuff, I would be screwed. So he recognizes I only really need to be able to remax once. That way I will have 2 shots. Look at the cost of his army over here in the top left-hand corner. He has the money still to remax once. So making additional production structures, not a bad idea. Scarlett is building up the strength of her army though. Okay, that's good. Lovely. Another Nexus being taken right now in the bottom or in the top right-hand corner. Yeah, so our Zerg player Reynor, playing Protoss, is trying to out-Zerg the Zerg. If that makes any sense. a very Zergy approach here to playing Protoss for certain. Yeah, those abductions are painful, right? I think we should have seen that a few minutes earlier, though. So Reynor did a really good job telling the story to Scarlett that, no, I'm definitely going to be playing a ground-based army. Don't you worry about that. Good fungal growth. Okay. I think this army is now being sacrificed. What are we going to replace it with, though? That's my main question here. Stalkers even are getting sacrificed too, it seems. Okay, just taking out whatever tech she can. Or he can, rather. Yeah, so I think what went wrong here for Scarlett is that she assumed this was going to be a mass ground army for Protoss for basically the entirety of the game. So she was like, okay, I'm going Lurkers together with Brute Lords, and then suddenly the carrier showed up. Okay, we're not even going to get the final fight. Scarlett decides to tap out because she didn't want to see that fight go heavily in favor of the Protoss. Oceanborn is going to be game number 2. What exactly went wrong right there for Scarlett in the first game? So she got caught off guard against a ground-based Protoss army that suddenly switched into properly upgraded air units. A couple Zerglings, by the way, did manage to sneak across the map, and they get surrounded very rapidly. At least they get a glimpse right there of the Stargate. Adept here trying to be annoying, getting a Zergling kill for now. Fair enough. But she was caught off guard against the Skytos army with Lurker Brute Lord, which is absolutely awesome against the ground-based Protoss force, but it sucks against, okay, everything else. Yeah, sacrificing the Adept right there for a Zergling and a Creep Tumor. Not the end of the world, but not the most efficient Oracle. Or, sorry, not the most efficient Adept there either. So Scarlett scouting it earlier would have been very, very handy, right? That would have been great for her. Another thing, though, that she could have done instead is play a Roach Ravager Ling Bane-based army instead. Because one thing Reynor did very nicely there, compared to what a lot of other Protoss players do in that particular spot, is never really trade those Lurkers out. So Reynor saw that the opponent was stuck on Brute Lord Lurker. He's like, wait a second. Even if I get an efficient trade right now with my Archon Immortal Stormball against your Lurkers, I'm still benefiting you. Because you're going both Brute Lords as well as Lurkers. If I allow your army to be traded out right now, you're going to transition towards a better unit composition. I am not really... Like, he kept that unit composition of Archon Immortal around for a very long time. Just cycling it from the top right-hand corner of the map all the way to the bottom left-hand corner, constantly moving it in and out. A lot of other Protoss players at that particular point would have traded out those units. And I think that's actually very clever from Reynor. That's a situation, of course, that he has been in as Zerg many times, where he's playing 30 Lurkers with like 10 Brute Lords, and then you're realizing, wait a second, I'm going up against Skytos. I need supply. But you also aren't really in a position to really trade out those units, so... Yeah, playing Roach Ravager Ling Bane is really nice because of that. As we do have a different build here, by the way, in game number 2 for Reynor. So, not really getting a lot of damage done so far with the Oracles, but he's going double Stargate Phoenix. Very unpopular build in the current meta, but this is something that Reynor used to do back in the day. So, whenever he used to play Protoss, he went for this build quite a bit. In my mind, Phoenix-based openers very regularly, unless Zerg goes for a strict timing attack, they regularly do force the late game. Because the problem is that Zerg can't really attack very easily against it. Like, you can go for a Queen Roach Ravager Ling kind of march, right? That's always an option. But unless Protoss decides to, unless Zerg decides to go for that attack early, if the Phoenix numbers are growing, like right now the drone count is already really too high for Scarlett to go for a big attack like that. Yeah, the Phoenix numbers are gonna grow and it's very difficult to move out against it. So this is double Oracle into mass Phoenix production, and Reynor is saving them up. So he's once again gonna try and force the late game, it seems. Missile upgrade. As the very first upgrade right here for Scarlett. She's gonna go into a Infestation Pit. I actually think Swarm Host would not be a bad choice here. It's certainly an option, especially against Phoenix-based builds. Although Phoenixes, they can still sort of shut that down too. It's just some It's just something, right? It's one of those situations where I can imagine that Reynor hasn't played with Phoenixes against Swarm Hosts very frequently. Although he has played with Swarm Hosts against Phoenixes very frequently. So maybe it makes life a little bit more complex for him. It's hard to say. Okay, now the Overseer Scout is gonna come in. And Scarlett will figure out exactly what she's playing against. Phoenixes decide to reveal themselves. Hydralisk then immediately starts up. Yeah, the best thing you can usually do as Zerg against this sort of thing is do like a Ling counterattack. Because Phoenixes can't really lift up Zerglings very efficiently because they run out of energy too fast. And over-drone. It is difficult for the Protoss player to win the game with Phoenixes alone, right? That's not really an option. So I really do like this move right here from Scarlett. Just moving across the map with whatever she's got. Oracles here joining in. Okay, they're targeting down those Ravagers right away. This ground army over here is getting demolished. Phoenixes, though, are coming back home. I think the 4th Nexus may just fall, but this is costly. Hive starts up as well here, by the way, for Scarlett. Okay. Yeah, so now what, right? As Zerg, like, what exactly is the plan now? How do you decide what you do at this point? Okay, we're just gonna go for a lot of Spore Crawlers. And I think we're gonna be playing defensively. Try and keep those Phoenixes pinned back as long as possible. But you're kind of forced to now play a bit of a longer game once again. And I can imagine that's not really what Scarlett is too keen on doing here. But she doesn't really have another choice. Reynor going for a ground transition. Infestors are coming up, okay. Fungal growth obviously is really nice against Phoenixes, especially if they're clumped up. Looks like so far though that Nexus over here up north, in the second try at the very least, will be okay. 3 Ovies chilling all the way in the top right hand corner. But Reynor does not know. Okay, he's gonna try and just pick up as many drones as possible. Lovely movement right there on those Phoenixes. Lurker then gets scouted. That is painful, yeah. It's very hard to avoid the damage against Phoenixes. Yeah, I don't think you really can, to be honest. You're basically always gonna lose some stuff. There's a fungal growth, but Parasitic Bomb is not yet available. Vipers are on the production tab, but yeah. I don't love that. Only 1 Phoenix so far has gone down. Great control right there by Reynor, even though he didn't really know exactly what he was playing against. Not going straight into Skytles, by the way, which surprises me a little bit. That's what we very regularly see. Instead, this is going to be a transition towards a ground-based army, at the very least at first. Hydra ranged. Lurker ranged. +2 ranged. Always nice to see. Scarlett building up her unit composition. But she's once again getting trapped into Lurkers. It's good for now. Very fast. Very fast reaction right there. It's very good for now, but it does fall off pretty quickly as the game progresses if we do go into a Skytles transition, and if Scarlett does decide to go into Brute Lords as well. Obviously, she didn't have to go into Brute Lords in that previous game. Okay, this is a very spellcaster-heavy army right now for Scarlett. Can she abduct a couple big hitters? Very nice. Okay, that's expensive though, for Reynor. Now the Lurkers are coming up. If Scarlett can go for a big attack right over here, if she can get the Lurkers in position right over there, that would be amazing. Adrenal Glands maybe a little late, but she didn't have infinite amounts of gas there. Another alternative here for Zerg is to try and deny a 5th base for the Protoss, whatever it costs. Like, you want to basically prevent a 5th base ever from coming up. Because if you want to attack here, it is kind of dangerous, because there's static defense, and obviously Protoss gets to warp in, and you have to worry about that Protoss infrastructure. So 4 bases, and no expansions past that point is certainly not a bad idea. Okay. It's not that many Lurkers. Yeah, 7 Lurkers? I'm not in love with that number. We've seen Harstem in particular look very powerful with his ground-based units. Okay, here come the Phoenixes. They decide to lift up all of the Lurkers and the Infestors. Reynor takes a banger of an engagement over here. I think Scarlett almost forgot a little bit about those Phoenixes still being around, but they just nullified the main heavy hitters in this army. And now they're going to be able to go after all of those Vipers as well. Okay. No splits on the Phoenixes for now. 2 of them do end up falling there, maybe more in total as well. But that was a very important hold right there for the Protoss player. Good abductions though. -1 Archon, -1 Immortal. Now suddenly, Reynor is on the aggressive. He does not have a Prism with this army currently. Okay, it's trailing a little bit behind. We do have 2 Prisms available in total. Big Storm. That concave here for the Zerg is amazing though. Okay. Yeah, I think backing off might not be the incorrect choice. Now a 5th base is coming. This is exactly what Scarlett is trying to avoid. But does she have the army for it right now? A couple Zealots here, moving on over towards the bottom left-hand corner of the map too. Okay. Is it time, Reynor? Are we gonna go for the +1 air? I think this would be about the time to go for the +1 air. Also, Reynor taking a page out of Hero's book. You love to see it. Do you? Actually, no, I don't love to see it. Never mind, I take that back. I hate to see it. This base is actually super low. Zealots could actually kill it. I guess that's maybe the Vipers coming in, or maybe we had a Zealot run by earlier too. Okay, good abductions right there on the Templar. There's the air weapons. There's the fusion core. The Protoss fusion core, that is. Together with the additional Stargates. So we're going straight into 4 Stargates. I love the semi-committed aggression here from Reynor. So he realizes that he doesn't need to deal damage. He just needs to pretend like he's dealing damage. And if he can deal damage, I mean, like, for example, this over here, that's great. But really, all he needs to do is secure a 5th. So any trades like these are really quite nice here for the Protoss. Scarlett's upgrades, by the way, are not bad, but also, yeah, the +1 melee here is kind of nice, I suppose. It's just that we don't have, I don't know. Going into Banelings here is a bit tricky. I guess the Zerglings are mostly just supplemental. At least the +3 missile is really nice. Can we abduct a couple units? Ooh, Reynor, careful. Almost feigning the mistake right there. I thought for a second he was gonna walk into this valley of spines here. That would have been a bad idea. Zealot warp in the bottom left-hand corner. +1 air weapons. Just about to finish up for Protoss. These Zealots are going to be able to make short work of that base. Yeah, now Scarlett is once again in this weird limbo. Where there may very well be a Skytles transition here shortly, but she does not know. She hasn't seen the additional Stargates. I don't believe she's checked for the Cybernetics core upgrades. Don't get me wrong, there's no carriers or Tempests or anything like that just yet. But we all know how this can go. Generally speaking, it's the Zerg player that will be fast on the tech transitions. But at least in this series so far, it seems to be that Reynor is the one who's fast on the tech transitions instead. There's the +2 air weapon started up. Again, before any sort of Skytles army. I almost feel like this should be the standard. Yeah. As weird as it sounds, this heavy focus on probes, heavy focus on upgrades, and then suddenly transition towards Skytles, it's not a bad idea. So we're talking 85 workers here for Protoss versus 55 for the Zerg. What exactly has happened in this game? Nothing too weird. Scarlett does have a massive army though. 118 army supply versus just, well, 114 right now, but at least when I started that sentence, Reynor was below 100. It's because we now have some carriers coming up on the production tab. 3 carriers, building all at the same time. They do already count towards the current supply count of Reynor, but obviously they're still a long ways away from finishing up. Okay. It's about time we get rid of those Phoenixes at this point anyways. Now, technically speaking, Hydras do shoot up. But it's also a mistake that Zerg players very frequently make, myself included. I fall in the Hydra trap all the time. Technically, they're a unit that shoots up, but realistically, you really don't want to use them as anti-air. Rarely do you see Hydras capable of killing a Skytol's army. The problem is that they have so little hit points, right? That one well-placed Storm or Purification Nova or... honestly, any damage from the Protoss, they can get rid of those units so quickly. Now, in order to get rid of the units that can easily kill your Hydras, you kind of need to go into Ultras, I guess? But we're nowhere even remotely close to Ultras here. Because Scarlett is now once again caught with 24 lurkers. Ay, 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 ay. This is a complete lurker trap. Yeah, I don't love it. Well, I love it for Reynor, but I'm not a fan of this for Scarlett here. Okay, Viper, getting an abduction in. More feedbacks though, lovely feedbacks. I really want to compliment Reynor's High Templar positioning. Like, I say that as he's losing a bunch, but he's traded a few High Templar there to get rid of the Viper energy, which is huge. Now, this is a good corner right here though, but already a recall completed. Reynor did end up killing that base. Okay. How many carriers do we have? We have 5 carriers versus 15 Hydras. If these were fully upgraded, if these were fully upgraded Hydras going up against unupgraded carriers, I guess this would not be too bad for the Zerg. But instead, that's not the case. +2 armor right here on the Hydras versus +2 air weapons on the carriers. Still though, yeah, not awful. We don't have a Spire or anything like that, and with, well, no Spire upgrades, it would be difficult to make a Corruptor transition here regardless. So Scarlett decides to double down on the unit that theoretically shoots up, but realistically usually is not great at that. Okay. Beautiful abductions here, though. Yeah, great stuff right here from Scarlett. Good Storm. Zealot run by all the way in the bottom left-hand corner once again. Mostly just dragging that entire Zerg army towards that location. And when that's the case, what's happening in the meantime on the other side of the map is more and more carriers. +3 air weapons is going to finish up soon. We've already got the +3 shields. Another Storm over here, getting rid of those. Yeah, so Zerg is trying to attack, right? Scarlett is trying to break these positions, but the static defense right here from Protoss buys enough time for more energy to come up on the Templar and for more carriers to come out. Okay. This is the engagement that Reynor's been aiming for the last, I want to say, 5-6 minutes. He's had the economical advantage for a long time too. Zerg is not even remotely close to a Corruptor. Yeah, there's no transition here that will make this army any easier to deal with, so I think this is going to be the best shot that Scarlett gets. It hurts my Zerg soul to see those Hydras just die against carriers and Storm and everything else, but there it is. Reynor obtains the victory against Scarlett by winning 2-0, playing his off race against her. Honestly, just ridiculous. If you enjoyed watching this video, please take the 1 second that it takes to hit the like button down below. It really does help. And if you really enjoyed it and you would like to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. For now, though, I want to thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to smile. And I'll see you once again tomorrow, maybe the day after that, for another video.